going to start with biomechanical constraints today that may influence, do take a look, he's coming down the aisle right now.
What am I doing in ski boots, right? Well, ski boots restrict our ankles and feet from performing correctly as I move. And if you're like me and have worked with older adults for over 20 years, you might recognize this movement pattern. A very stiff and rigid movement pattern. It makes it very hard for us to get around. So ski boots, even though I'm in Long Beach, California, represent basically just this. It's really hard to function throughout your day. Imagine living in ski boots. Imagine walking, running, playing a sport, going up or down stairs in ski boots. It'd be very difficult. But more than 90% of older adults live in ski boots. They live with restricted range in the way they walk, the way they reach for something, the way they sit down, the way they turn their bodies. Everything they do basically limits their range. And about 20 years ago, when I started my career, as I'm actually a clinical physiologist and I work in cardiovascular medicine, okay? And I was testing individuals on a treadmill, testing heart function. And I'm watching these individuals standing there. And they're exhibiting postural sway. And I'm taking this individual and I'm going to put them onto a treadmill. And they're walking like this up to the treadmill. I'm thinking, I'm going to increase the speed on this treadmill. And I'm going to figure out, what am I going to do if this person's going to fall off the back of this treadmill? They can't move. And I said, are we missing something? And that's when the light bulb went off. And that's when I realized that everything that we do in life starts with our root, our base, our foundation, our agility, our balance, our coordination. Everything basically comes from our base, our foundation, how we interact with the ground. So, I set out to basically spend the next 20 years thinking of better ways to work with the body, better ways to engage the body to basically loosen the boot. And through that, and working with some of the top professionals in the industry, and looking at as many studies as we could, we realized that the ankle and foot is so important to the way the rest of the body moves. Because with a restriction in our feet and ankles, we basically create compensation throughout the rest of the body. And so our ankles are a mobile joint. And in a mobile joint, and you don't have that mobility, you then have to basically put that mobility somewhere else. And that leads to the knees, which is a stable joint, the hips, the lower back, the upper back, the neck, the shoulders, you name it. If we are restricted in the way we contact the ground, it's very hard to not push that stress somewhere else. So from that, I realized I wanted to find out what is minimal ankle flexion, okay? Through dorsal flexion, plantar flexion. More importantly, dorsal flexion. Our lives have been basically, our whole society has been re-engineered to basically make us dysfunctional. The way we're sitting right now, you guys are all plantar flex, basically. I don't know, I can't see these tables, but I'd imagine it's pretty much like that. So basically, you're practicing limited range of motion right now. And so when you go to stand up and you need to engage properly, you're going to lack the ability to dorsal flex. And if you're like me and spend a lot of time in school, going through all those years in meetings, what have you, in conferences, we're in a seated position. So we've trained our bodies to be dysfunctional. So when we go to actually move about our day, it makes it very hard for us to function properly. So knowing that we need a minimal amount, and the minimum amount is 20 degrees of dorsal flexion. Okay? And how do we typically get that? We move our body. How does an older adult get that? They find a better position to basically move in, which is not really better. Then I realized that we need to figure out what's optimal. Where do we go from here? If we're at minimal, how do we get to basically optimal? And we found that 35 degrees range of motion dorsal flexion is optimal for motion. Take it even one step further. We wanted to see what is athletic performance. And so anything over 45 degrees of range of motion. And we have the Moflex, which I created basically at those three tiers. We call it pyramid release technology. And it doesn't stop there. feet to contact the ground, we have gate points. Okay, we have contact points. We have one in our heel, one on the outside ball of the foot, one on the inside ball of the foot, and through our toe. So when I take a step, that's how I'm walking through my step. So it's really important to create balance, dynamic balance, through my steps that I am able to contact the ground properly. Okay, and in that contact, I have to go through phases of gait. So from loading to mid-stance, well, I can't do it in this, to terminal, to pre-swing, okay? I go through these phases, and I need a certain range of motion to be able to do this properly. And to do it without falling off balance. To do it without causing pressure or stress in the rest of my body. So, I created a device that basically works on these basic motions of the body. And we have 7 primary motions. We have the way we stand, the proper stance. We have gait, the way we get around, the way we walk. We have hinging, the way we bend. We have squatting, sitting down, getting up. We have rotating, how we rotate, and we have push and pull. And so on the Moflex, what's so great about it is it forces us to put our feet and ankles in the right place at the right time through our motions. So it's actually correcting this. And if you're like me and you've been working with older adults as long as I have, working on these primary functions is so important. I don't see the point of adding extra stress, load, duration, repetition if that person lacks that ability. And Moflex is just one station on a bigger project that I have, bigger piece of equipment, that works on basically all the different parts of proprioception and how we basically improve gross motor function. But I think this is the most important one. And this is one that I wanted to actually share with you guys today. And so we're going to actually shift over to the Moflex, because the Moflex loosens the boot, but even better, removes the boot. So we'll focus our attention there. I'm going to lose the boots real quick.
Phil?
Sure.
So